Good afternoon. It is the first daily live of the week. It is Monday. I am joined by Jack.
Are we going to start off strong on our first outing of the week, or are we going to set a poor tone and it's all downhill from here?
I feel like it's always strong.
I don't know. They can go one or two ways, these shows me and you do together. Because, you know, I think sometimes we can have really good footy chats, and other times it breaks down into Star Wars, or, you know, you've just watched The Boys, haven't you? So maybe...
No,
there might be
we don't start with that. We end with that when we're running out of things to talk about.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about in terms of stuff like that. Don't worry.
I mean, thankfully today we do actually have some Everton news to sink into, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, we have, yeah. I mean, is it news? That's the way to look at it, isn't it? Is it news? It's one thing I will ask you, though, and I just need to know this straight off the bat. Have you been watching the Olympics?
I watched a little bit of the swimming last night. Nice. That's the first I've watched of it, though, really. But it was good. It was a good atmosphere, actually, in the swimming competitions. They had a local lad in, I forget his name, but he had the record anyway in his competition, and he came close to breaking it, but he fell just short. But like he won by a canter anyway.
The French fella,
in Marchand or something. But like they all had flags for him.
Yeah, no, I've been liking it.
A little bit of the judo.
There'll be no spoilers for anything anywhere. We're talking about football. Jack just decided to bring up The Boys. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I love the Olympics. I watch everything. I think GB have just got the first gold medal in equestrian.
In a what?
In equestrian.
Equestrian. Oh, I always hear equestrian and think like water, like swimming and that. Why can't you just call it horse riding?
Horse riding. Fair play. That's what us meagre humans call it. Horse riding.
They're our working class roots, aren't they? Oh, we didn't do equestrian, we just had horse riding on our council estate.
Yeah, I love it. I love the Olympics, honestly.
It makes solid background noise.
Yeah, that's the thing about it, innit? I love it. I do love it. Let's move on. Might come back onto Olympics if people want us to talk about it. Let's get into the footy anyway. Jake O'Brien. Obviously, the rumour of the weekend, maybe more than a rumour, is that Everton have agreed a deal with Leon for the player coming in, hopefully for a medical for the next couple of days. Not signed yet, obviously not signed yet. So this is all, hypothetical, conversational. But what are your thoughts on that if he does sign for Everton?
I think it's a very nice sign, and I think it just makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think Jared Branthwaite, obviously we've had worries that he might be departing this summer. It looks like he's staying, but we know in a year's time he's still going to have suitors coming in for him, probably even more when you consider another year of strong performances under his belt, touch wood. And I do think the market for left-sided centre-backs will open up a hell of a lot more in a year's time as well. And some viewers might remember that we called exactly this. We said in the summer it'll only be Man United interested because they're the only club that need a player in his position. Reject them, and you'll have some very big clubs who will need a left-sided centre-back, or are willing to spend the money on that position in a year's time coming in. And we took a little bit of flack for that, but at the moment it's all going exactly how we said it, isn't it? But I think even if he is to leave in a year's time and we get however much money for him, teams are going to know we've got 60, 70 million to spend and we're looking for a left-sided centre-half. Everyone's adding 10 million onto the price tags, aren't we? Whereas if you address it a year in advance, bring a young player in as well, in O'Brien, who can, learn the trade under Tarkowski, and a defensively minded manager in Dyche, I think it makes sense to blood him in that period, so then he can, hopefully, if Branthwaite were to leave, he could come in and take the reins for that position.
I mean, just looking at him as a defender, I think he's more of a Tarkowski replacement in the long term. Do you know what I mean? Rather than Branthwaite's got sort of similar attributes. I mean, this kid's 6'6". He's 23, just. But I think you'd look at Dyche and think Dyche should probably be thinking, this lad's going to take Tarky's place like long term.
Well, that's the other side of it. If Branthwaite stays, Tarkowski, obviously he's got a good couple more years in him, but you do need to plan for the future. But what I would say as well is stylistically similar to Tarkowski. I don't know what the likelihood is of us being able to get a like-for-like replacement for Branthwaite if he were to leave.
That's it, isn't
and
it?
maybe, that's just Dyche going back to what he knows. If he is the, Branthwaite replacement in the future, if he goes and Tarkowski's still in the team, I think, you just settle on having sort of two of the same breed of centre-back, because that's a style Dyche knows anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if it's Dyche wants... I'm not going to say he wants no-nonsense defenders, because again...
Well, Branthwaite's not a no-nonsense defender, is he? But he can do the sides you'd sort of associate with those no-nonsense defenders, because he'll throw himself in for blocks and he's great in the air. I think the other side of it, being comfortable on the ball and being able to step out, that Branthwaite's so good at, that's sort of like an added bonus. But the priority isn't ball playing centre back. It's he has to win every duel, he has to be up to block every shot, and he has to have great positional awareness. And if he can play on the ball a bit, that's great. But first and foremost, you've got your credentials in that area. Yeah,
he's it's probably best of both worlds actually, a little bit, isn't it? And he's still young. As I said, he was at Palace. He was at Palace till 2023. Then he went to Lyon. He's played 27 times for Lyon, scoring 4 goals, 11 caps for the Republic of Ireland under 21s, 2 caps for the full team, which would obviously you'd imagine will start to escalate, even with him being at Lyon.
Yeah, well, even obviously when we were getting links of him, I just had to search through Twitter, see what was being said about him, and I seen some older tweets from some Irish footy fans saying, why isn't he in the team already over there, Shane Toffee?
Yeah.
I think it was obviously, I'm not watching the Irish team week in, week out, so I don't necessarily know how their system goes, but I think it's a good sign if, he's only got 2 caps, but all the fans want him to have more, and it just maybe shows managers' loyalty to a specific player rather than he's not better than Shane Duffy.
And there's a new manager, new coach, just come in for Ireland as well, isn't there? So there will be a look at that about what they've got and what's the youth. But no, you're absolutely right. What you said. This is a player who could take. We all or everyone will presume, and rightly so, that it's Branthwaite's replacement in the long term, but we know from the inside that Everton are desperate for another top centre-back. We've just sold Ben Godfrey, who was our first choice cover, I'd say, certainly full-back and probably centre-back. Mason Holgate, the manager, made the decision on him last summer, wants him gone. Michael Keane, for everything, he's coming to the end of his Everton career. The manager has to look at that situation and say, I need a replacement now. So
long term, this
lad can come in. And to be fair, we only needed replacement centre-backs sporadically last season. The Burnley game, we needed them to come in. I think it might have been like one other game we needed them to come in. But we've seen already, Tarkowski's got a little bit of an injury now. Not too serious, apparently. Branthwaite's got a little bit of an injury. Again, not too serious. But there might be occasions in the season where, again, Branthwaite's a year older. The manager might look at it and think, like, this is a good time to... I don't want to play both of them. Might be a League Cup game. It could be anything. Could be suspensions. Branthwaite, we've seen drop out with a suspension last season. Got very close to getting to this. That's the second one as well. Just started using his head, a little bit more experience. Managed to get through that. There will be times, of course there will, where you need that other centre-back. And I think having a really good one that the manager can almost grab hold of and hone and take forward, rather than 2 that you don't really want. And I think that's the problem. And I think Michael Keane come in against Burnley, and I think he scored, didn't he? And he did all right, but no one really wants to see Michael Keane because
there's no confidence in him, is there? Even though he is more than capable of good performances in this team, I've just seen far too often he's had those moments or those games where it's just absolutely not worked for him. And there'll never be a confidence in him starting in the team. And we did get lucky last year with the availability at Branthwaite and Tarkowski. And if you end up in a position where one of them misses 5 or 6 games because of a bad injury, you could bleed a lot of points in that time period, especially if they get that knock in a period like December where you're playing twice a week and they miss the entire month. We've missed 7 games of football in that
We've
period.
said that, haven't we, loads of times? It's not if you get injured, it's when you get injured. And if you know, you don't want that situation, you're absolutely right, to happen in December, where the amount of game, and it's more likely to happen in December because the amount of games that you've already played, and then suddenly you're playing every 3 days and it catches up with you. The manager wants the ability to rotate, and I think last season he didn't want to rotate.
No, he didn't also have the options to rotate. No, did he? I'm sure there would have been cup games, or you know, even just games in the schedule where he was like, you know, one or, you know, ideally both of these could do with a rest.
Look at go back to the Wolves and Palace games in the first week of January, when on the Saturday against Wolves we obviously got beat 3-0. We looked absolutely shot. And we played Palace on the Thursday, and then everyone was thinking there'd be multiple changes here, and he didn't. He kept it as it was, even those players looked like they really needed a rest. Now he probably asked those players, did they need a rest? And they'd be like, no, because that's what footballers, certainly like the likes of Tarkowski and a lot of players we have, they have got that kind of mentality of, no, I'll play for you this week, where sometimes the manager has to take that decision out their hands and say, I'm going to play them. But if you haven't got the players, you haven't got the players. And I think this is where this would be, you know, an ideal sign. And as I said, we all expect Branthwaite to leave probably next summer, as long as we can get through this summer. And if you've already trained up his replacement, and he's had a year of experience playing the Premier, and as you said rightly, then you don't have to go looking. You've already got your replacements, and that's what good teams do. By the way, good teams get replacements in the year before. They don't sell a player and go, what do we do now?
Yeah.
When everyone, like you said, everybody knows you've got money in the bank, and you're like, price suddenly goes up. You get them the year before, and you get them on decent terms, and that's what I think. That's what Kevin Felwell said in one of his interviews, didn't he? He said, I can't remember, it might have been December or January, and he said, we're not in the position at the moment to be planning too far ahead. And that's what he was basically saying. He's saying, like, you do have plans to sell this player and that player, but the plan also, you have to bring into the fact that you do bring their replacements in. And you look at, like, I mean, Man City are the number one for doing this. They do it all the time. They bring a player in, people go, well, why have they done that? And it's like a year later when they have got rid of that player. That's why right now, Man City will not want to get rid of like Kevin De Bruyne or Ederson. They want to get their replacements in right now, and then in a year, because that gives you the opportunity to bed them in.
Well, this is something that Dyche has actually done a few times before, especially with his centre-backs. When Tarkowski actually came into Burnley, I don't think he really played a game for his first 2 seasons, but he was brought in the knowledge that Michael Keane is, you know, performing well at the time, and a young centre-back getting around the England squad, being linked with everyone. He knows eventually Keane's going to be out the door. But this lad's 2 years ago for 4 million. He was still young at the time. He'd, you know, been blooded in the Championship, and he'll just come into the team. We won't notice Keane's gone, but we'll have money that we don't have to spend on a replacement. Did the same thing when he brought in the lad Collins from Stoke, and he only really got game time once Dyche had been sacked from Burnley, but still it was the idea that Tarkowski and Ben Mee are both getting on an age. Let's bring in a young replacement who'll come in eventually and be able to take that place. And, you know, they sold him for big money after they went down. So it's something Dyche obviously likes to do. And you're right, in our financial situation, you know, we've had to wait till we sold Onana to start making moves for players. So it's difficult to plan for the future when, you know, you very much live in hand to mouth, but you can plan for the future in ways that still benefit you in the now, because we did need a backup centre-back. But you bring in a younger lad, but not a project type of player. You know, he's not 18 and he's not, you know, coming from a very different league. He's in his early 20s. He's came up in England, and then he's went and got experience in a top league, getting first team football. So, you know, he's clearly ready to an extent. Obviously, he can still learn a lot more and, you know, fit into our team. And like I say, learn from Tarkowski and Dyche. But, you know, I'm sure we can trust him to come into the team if we need him. So it's long-term planning, but it's also beneficial to you in the short term, and that is the best of both worlds, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes sense. It just makes sense to get this one over the line, and yeah, I know there's been some concerns about it. had a little chat with our friend Stefan yesterday on Twitter because he was.
Did he reply to you? I seen your tweet.
He replied to
me. What did he say?
He was just basically saying, well, Machiri's, with Machiri's sort of still on hand on the wheel, but as I pointed out to him, I don't think Machiri's hand is on the wheel. I think Kevin Fell. I spoke to someone else about this as well. Who's a lot more. Is in the game and a lot more sort of when it comes to stuff like this. Has got a different outlook maybe to what I have on Everton, but you've got to trust Kevin Felwell in many ways. I don't know. I think we all know again. There's this thing of like we've how many times we've done that this summer. People on the outside thinking they know about our football club when we live and breathe it every day, and we're not experts. Don't get me wrong, but it is like this. It's like when people go first thing that happened when we were linked to this lad was Man United fans. Oh, that must mean we're getting Branthwaite. No, it doesn't.
No,
because we know we haven't got another centre back that is fit for purpose, and it's the same with this. Fad Machiri's hand isn't on the rudder at Everton Football Club.
It's half the problem, really, isn't it? Because he's meant to be our financial benefactor.
But so Kevin Felwell's running the club, or running this side of the club, and he's already said that he will not run Everton in a way that is dangerous, because that's basically what he came into. And you have to, at some point, you have to say, I trust that. I trust that. So before the deadline for PSR, and we were all worried, weren't we? And then he made a couple of good deals, got us over the line, and you have to trust that they did what they had to do. Now, again, we don't know, do we? We don't know whether we have passed that line. We won't know till sort of we had to get a tap on the shoulder or we don't. But you have to trust, because Kevin Felwell, whether you think he's done a good job or whether you think hasn't done a good job, you have to look at him and think the shit show that he came into at this club, he's not going to put us back into that position, I wouldn't think. Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing a good job. So I've got to think that Jake O'Brien coming in is not going to destroy our PSR. And also, because I think what Borson was saying was, surely if Everton have got this pot of money from because this is what he replied to, basically said, because I said, well, we've sold £70 million worth of players this summer, haven't we? And his reply was, well, you're going to need that 70 million basically to keep you running. That's basically what he was saying. Paraphrasing there. He basically said, you're going to need that. If everything's true about, because you haven't got a new owner and you're running at a loss, you're going to need that money to keep going. And maybe from the outside, that's what it does look like. But I don't know. All I can trust is Kevin Felwell has just done a deal with Leon that basically we don't pay anything this year. And they're banking on the new stadium to lift everything up. And also the wages that have gone out the door this summer as well. People forget that as well.
Gomez, Danjuma, Deli, although he's still around.
Well, yeah, but his wages have stopped. That money going out the door, you've got to believe that he knows what he's doing. And also, if we actually can just sell Jared Branthwaite. Now, I don't think we are selling Jared Branthwaite, but we can sell Jared Branthwaite if needs must. If they come out of it and go, and Sean Dyche goes, we've got to get a centre forward in, or we've got to get this position in, then we can sell.
And even in a weekend's bargaining position, you could still get 60 million for Branthwaite, and still get the money in to spend. But yeah, I think you've got to trust in the idea that Felwell very much didn't like or appreciate working in the environment he worked in, where his hands very much were tied when he had no money to spend, and he's reaching in the bargain bin and just taking whatever we can get. Ashley Young's available. Yeah. Okay, we'll have to take him. Yeah. There's this striker from Udinese who's not all that, but they're willing to accept nothing for him up front this year, and then we can do it in instalments from there. That's probably the best deal we can work out for a striker who might be good. It says it a few times, but it's trying to furnish a house based on what you can find on Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. You can't get the best quality products. You can't get everything that goes together and looks good. It's just the best item for the best value.
Yeah. And it's
obviously, you know, we're still not splashing the cash. We've had to wait for a sale to go through to start making our own deals, but we're actually doing something, and it seems like we're looking at options rather than this is what we can get, so we're going to have to get it.
But also that was a sale that many were quite comfortable with. You know, in fact, people downright celebrated selling Onana, which I find weird because I think he's a good player. And he'll show that at Villa. But you mentioned there, I mean, there will be contrasts. I mean, Everton are trying to do a deal to get Ricardo Rodriguez in, free transfer, 31, be 32 in August. Left back, and they're the ones that supplement it. You know, he's a free agent. He can play left centre back, left midfield, slightly in the Ashley Young territory in there. But again, that's another one that Everton are sort of trying to do because it's or looking at trying to do because it will give Mykolenko, if it was to be done, Mykolenko that little bit of backup. And of course, Mykolenko's picked up a couple of injuries. You know, the Merseyside derby, and now the one that he got in the Euros. So there is that thing of like, you need that little bit because Baz says it. Baz has continued to ask this question when we're talking about people talking about right back, the left back situation. If that one was to happen, I'm not saying it's close or anything. It's just something Everton are looking at.
Been doing it, hasn't it?
But that's one where you go, well, that does give us a little bit of backup, and it's I don't know where that factor's actually young into it, but it does give us that little bit of backup, doesn't it?
No, it does, and I think the really key thing there as well is that stylistically it's a different type of left back, and it's a profile of left back that, you know, last season we were really calling out for, not necessarily because we wanted Mykolenko out the team, but stylistically what Mykolenko does as a left back, he's not really a modern full-back in terms of flying forward, overlapping or making those underlapping runs inside and, you know, collecting the ball in a central position. He's more, you know, he's on the defensive side of things, Mykolenko, isn't he? Whereas Rodriguez, historically, although I'm sure he's lost a bit of pace these days, he was an attack-minded full-back, wasn't he? He was playing as the wing-back in sort of back fives and being able to push up the pitch and be able to be a little bit more creative. And obviously, I'm sure we all remember the free kick goal he scored against us in the Europa League for Wolfsburg. He's obviously a left back with a little bit more attack and technique, and I think, Mykolenko is your starter, but ideally, if you can bring one in, you want a left back who can give you a little bit more going forward, and, you know, obviously deputise as well, first and foremost, but secondly, if, you know, you want someone to bring off the bench just to change things stylistically a bit, that way your winger can come inside more. You get the overlapping left back, so he's an option there as well. And yeah, you know, maybe this is one of those, if it goes through, obviously one of those sort of bargain bin signings, you know, a signing you wouldn't make if you had more money to deal with, but he fits the profile of what we want from that position, and he's cheap as well, so it is 2 boxes ticked.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to get, it would be really nice, wouldn't it, to just get, you know, a couple over the line as well. You know, we've mentioned this a couple of times. Sometimes you get players in a glut. You get them, you know, one after the other, and then there's a bit of a lull. And certainly the lull has come since sort of doing back to pre-season training and that. It would be really nice to get another couple in quite quickly, and just adds to that. You filled that space, and you filled that space. It'd be really interesting if we could do that, because I just think they are, certainly that one. I think if everyone, if obviously, as long as the wages are not stupid, it would seem to be a sensible one. But we'll wait on that one. The one that doesn't look like it's happening is Gnonto.
Yeah.
Leeds don't have to sell since they sold Gray to Spurs. They don't have to sell. They're playing hardball like they did last summer. And again, like we said last summer, fair play to them. You know, fair play to them. They've got a valuation. And I don't think it's just a valuation, it's what they want up front for the player, which I think is the real big sticking point with Gnonto. It's what they want up front for the players, what Everton can't really match. And they're willing to hold on. Now, whether that's just to stop Everton, or they believe there's other teams that are going to come in for them, but they're in the same position we are. They have an asset. They believe he's worth a price, and they're holding out. Of course, the difference is they're not in the Premier League. So this could be one where if they've got their own targets and they can't get them or whatever, then it might change. But then they sold Gray and they've got a really good deal for Gray, and they might just be thinking, we'll get up this season and we can afford to keep him this season, and if we don't get up this season, then we can sell him.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to be... The crossover is like, you know what I mean? It's like, if we keep him and get up, that's worth well more than selling him now and not getting up.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously they had that big cash influx from the Grey sale, like you say, and they came so close to promotion last year. I'm sure they feel confident they can get promotion this year. And in terms of revenue streams, yes, they're in the Championship, but they are one of the biggest clubs in the Championship, and, you know, they always get good attendance. They probably have one of the better revenue streams in that league. So between that and the big sale they've made, they don't need to sell them, do they? And to be honest, I'm not all that bothered. I would have liked Gnonto, but on the right terms, because you are looking at a lot of money for someone whose reputation mainly comes from a purple patch a couple of years ago now, when he was a little bit younger as well. Good player, talented player. I'm sure he would bring a lot to this Everton side, and obviously there's a reason why Leeds want to hold out for a big fee, but I think there are others out there you can probably look at. Obviously, he wasn't our first choice anyway, because we looked at Minty and Philogene as well. Obviously, we missed out on both of them, but I think we are targeting the right profile of player. And okay, it's okay if it's not Gnonto, it just needs to be someone of that profile, an attack-minded, pacey winger.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously because we went in for him last year, and we've seen this before with Kevin Fell, but he does like to sort of, he does keep the dossier,
tabs, yeah,
doesn't he, on top of the desk. Like, once he's decided he likes a player, then you don't abandon that just because it's, you know, because it's a different season. He does clearly like him, and but the price has got to be right, hasn't it?
Yeah, you know, obviously, even if we can't spend a little bit more money this year because of the Onana sale, we still need to pick and choose where we spend it, don't we? We're not completely out the woods yet. We might not be for a very long time, but still got to work smart deals and pay as little upfront as we can. That means clubs might be less persuaded to accept our deals, which is fine. That's their prerogative. We've just got to be careful, and we've got to be smart, and we have to keep targeting this profile of player, because I think that's what we are missing. And it is interesting. Yeah, you're right. He does, you know, he has his players that he likes very well, and he will go back to them. But he only went back to Gnonto after missing out on 2 other targets first. So that suggests that there are other players on this list that Felwell's got for his targets.
Yeah. I think you've always got to have a list of targets. That's the point, isn't it? You can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Especially when you're in our financial position and you can't pay whatever the price is. But one player I would take a look at if I was Everton was Jack Clark at Sunderland.
Okay.
He's been linked with Ipswich as well, but they've not worked anything out yet. But he fits that mould of that attacking, direct young winger who's proven it in the Championship, got goals and assists. Didn't have the best second half of the season for Sunderland last year, but their manager that they brought in doesn't historically get the most out of wingers. The manager that they had for the second half of last year, Beale. But before that, he was Sunderland's key man, and he was doing really well for them. And I think if you can work out a deal in the region of 15, 20 million and you're not paying all of that up front, he'd be a good signing for Everton. Yeah,
he was. I think he was featured quite heavily in the last bit of the documentary that they did. I think he was featured quite. Seen him quite frequently, and that doing well for them. So yeah, it's there will be others out there. It's just whether sort of Everton move on to those other ones, or they've got their eyes set on the situation at Leeds. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, Everton did play on Saturday. Did you see much of that game? And
no, I didn't, and thankfully not, to be honest. But I think with Everton now, I'm at the point where I couldn't tell you the last pre-season we had that results-wise was really good, especially when we've played against a decent calibre of team in pre-season, where we went out, we've played decent teams and we've got good results against all of them. I don't know if it's happened since the Moyes days.
Yeah.
I think it's just part of Everton now. We don't perform well in pre-season friendlies, but I think even think back to Dyche's first season at the club when we were playing those behind closed doors friendlies, and I don't even remember who we played, but we played someone that we very much should have been beaten and lost to them in a behind closed doors friendly in the middle of the season, didn't we? So, maybe poor friendly results are just part of what comes with Sean Dyche, but for him the big thing's the fitness, isn't it? And apparently he actually did 2 Gaffer's days over the last
Gaffer
week.
Day 1, Gaffer Day 2.
Yeah, apparently back-to-back Gaffer days, and a few of the skeptics online said, maybe that's where a lot of these injuries and little niggles have came from, players wanting to avoid double Gaffer Day.
Maybe. And
went to watch the UFC instead.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I watched the game and Everton it was a good run out. Everton were very sort of comfortable till they made a host of changes in the second half. And then after that, Salford the equaliser. I don't know what the kid. The equaliser is just hilarious, to be honest. The lad wins a header, which he should never have won. I thought the goalkeeper should have got over there a little bit quicker, and then it rolls along the line, and somehow the young lad has gone to kick the ball, sort of missed it, and then it sort of bounced off him and gone in when it was actually rolling out, or certainly wasn't going in anyway. So
it was the lads who used to play for them as well, weren't it? Woodburn,
and then later on they've lads put a good ball in, got round the back, the goalie's in no man's land, and they've made it 2-1 in the last minute. And to be fair, we had loads of chances when our first team were on, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, anyone who watched it,
I've seen the chance he missed.
Oh my God. How you don't hit the target from there in any level of football, I don't know. Like, I'm not like, it's a friendly. I don't care about the results. I've watched the entire game. Anyone who watched the entire game understands that we were quite comfortable when everyone went off. But things like that are what burn fans' heads out, football fans' heads out. And even when he made all the changes, the young lads had so many chances. I think we had about 2 breakaways or 3 breakaways where we were, like, I was literally saying as I was watching it, I was like going, how are we going to Everton this up? And we did 3 times. There was one where the lad, I think Dixon, who does look good, Dixon, fast as anything, broke forward, played the ball into Mopai, and Mopai sort of just completely missed the ball, and it went through his legs, and it ends up going out for a goal kick to them or something. We had so many opportunities. It was unbelievable. But it doesn't really matter. It was about fitness. The manager took most of the plays off after 60 minutes, and they've scored a couple of late goals, and we move on to tomorrow night at Coventry.
Yeah, I think given the choice, if it's a direct pick between the two, and you come into the season fit and ready, but your results in pre-season are bad, or you win games in pre-season, you get results, but the squad's not as fit as it should be. You pick the first option every time, don't you? Yeah. Obviously, in an ideal world, you'd be fit and ready, and you'd get good results as well. But the fitness is the key thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all that matters, really. I mean, the manager said after the game, he said there was absolutely no tactical plan for the game, which was quite evident. But he said there was no tactical plan for the game. It was just all about just going out, put players in the right positions, replacing them with players who play in similar positions, and going out there and having a game of football. So ultimately, that's what it was.
So, I get what he's saying completely. I'm not trying to have a go, but there's just something so funny about the manager saying there was no tactical plan. Someone needs to do something about this. Not me, though.
Yeah. I
get that's not what he's saying. I get he's not saying it to have a dig, just out of context.
No, it's all about fitness. It is all about fitness. It does. It does. I mean, it is a bit mad that we've only got 3 more pre-season games till the season starts. That is a bit mad. Like, that feels like properly being undercooked in terms of tactical stuff. But obviously, listen, they must do so much tactical stuff on the training ground now. And I imagine they'll probably have a couple of behind closed doors games, a couple of bounce games as well. And obviously, he said it himself. I mean, whether you listen to him or not, he said, after the game, he said he put the young lads on to give the first team players a rest because there wasn't enough first team players because of the injuries. And he said loads of them are not ready. And it's clear loads of them are not ready. There's a mixture of under 18. And of course, he'll do what he did last year. where the ones who are close, they'll make a decision based on that. I was at Bolton last season, and we brought loads on. And the next day, after, the few of them went on loan.
Half of them went on loan.
That's where he made the decision, or someone made the decision.
He went to Bolton, didn't he? He didn't go to Tranmere, was it? He went and watched the.
No, he didn't go to Wigan. He went to Tranmere instead. But Bolton was afterwards.
But you went and watched them in person, is what I mean. And you watched the youth squad in person play their game and.
Yeah, he was at Tranmere, yeah, but he was at Bolton, and of course, because and loads of the younger players, like sort of the future was sort of decided that night in many ways. I think so. Warrington played that night, and then the next minute he was on loan, wasn't he, to Plymouth? Stanley Mills was another one, who was on his way to Oxford, yeah, and he's been unfortunate. His brother's in the Olympics,
Is he? What's he competing?
Is it 1,500 metres?
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
They've got quite a decent little family of athletes, haven't they?
Yeah, I'll have to miss. It's not Clang. His dad Danny used to play for England. He quite regularly messages us, and so he'll be over there. So I'll have to check up and see how he is,
nice.
how Stanley is. Yeah, and I know a lot of people got frustrated with Saturday, because I was doing a watch along and I was saying, if you get like a couple of goals up, which Everton should have been, then it's, do you know what I mean? It's everyone's all right, and everyone's like, well, we deserve to. James Garner scored a good free kick, and he was wearing a tremendous pair of blue Predator, so he can do anything he wants. But if you get a couple of goals up and you're coasting and you bring the kids on, then you know what I mean? But it's like, because people just, at this time of year, people just want to, like, you do want to see wins. You're playing teams like Sligo and Salford. People want to win games of football, don't they? At the end of the day.
Yeah, it's one of them. It can only be a good thing if you're winning your pre-season games, if you're getting your fitness in alongside that. And like we keep saying, it's not the most important thing, but it is a nice added bonus if you can do that, because it's added confidence. But if they're not going into these games with a tactical approach and they are purely basically extended workouts to get them back used to football fitness, because football fitness and general fitness are different things, because, it can take you through so many different exercise routines. You can be interval training at points, it can be high intensity at others, can't it? So if football fitness is different, and it probably makes sense to do some of the tactical stuff behind closed doors and in more controlled environments. I think especially in this day and age where there is so much more coverage around friendlies, and if teams are ever trying to change their style and it's done in a friendly, people pick up on it. I've seen a lot over the weekend in the last few days, because Liverpool obviously have a new manager, and they've done a formation change, and one of the players is playing a different position. There's been loads of coverage on it.
I think this is one of the reasons why, I mean, obviously I don't know this for definite, but I think this is one of the reasons why Dyche does like the low-key friendlies. Honestly, what made me laugh was Saturday night you had Arsenal versus Manchester United in the SoFi Stadium in LA. Probably holds about 90,000, resplendent. I mean, Arsenal won 2-1, and then they had a penalty shootout which Manchester United won.
Yeah.
Can someone explain that to me? No, you can't explain it to me, can you?
No.
But
maybe Man United won the first leg 1-0.
That's the point, isn't it? It's like that. I think I like the tours, and I understand what they bring into Everton Football Club if you go on these big tours, don't get me wrong. And, but I think that's part of why Dyche doesn't like going on them is you get to have games like that where no one cares. No one, it's not on TV. There's not 90,000, not that there'd be 90,000 there anyway. There's not 90,000 people there. There's not 50,000 people there. There's like 7,000 people there. And no one cares. It's on at 3 o'clock on the Saturday. Sky Sports News might mention it for 5 minutes. Everton fans will go, we've got beat, blah, blah, blah. A few lads will go. Gives a good chance for a few lads and their kids to go, and they get to wear the new kit and all that kind of thing for the first time. And they'll get loads of autographs off the players. And there's nothing more to talk about. You don't have to jump on a plane. You don't have to you get to come back to Finch Farm on the Monday and prepare for the next pre-season game, which is only in Coventry, and then prepare for the next one, which is only in Preston. And you're not airing your dirty,
you're not being exposed, are you? And look, obviously, I think if we can get into a position where we can do overseas tours, it's good for the club, and it's money into the club, and everyone who who goes to them seems to really enjoy them, and it's good for our fans in places like America where we do have good support.
Yeah.
But on the other side of things, look at Chelsea. Getting beat 4-1 by Celtic the other day.
Exactly.
And obviously with Chelsea being a really big club and that, it would have been news anyway, with it being in a full stadium, people seeing it, with it being broadcasted on some platforms. It was everywhere. Everyone's seeing all the goals. Everyone was talking about that. If that took place at a local ground in London, not even Chelsea's ground, just a local 20,000 seat stadium where you can do it in a more controlled environment, it's nowhere near as big news.
But also Celtic's season starts next week. That's the other side of it. People don't put that into consideration, do they?
Yeah, and for Chelsea, this was a commercial opportunity. For Celtic, this was right. Last friendly of the pre-season, we're getting ready. Let's go out there and set the performance for what we're going to do in a week's time, and potentially get a bit of exposure by beating this really big team. But on prime time for American audiences and in a big full stadium, and like I say, being broadcasted, it turns it into well bigger news if you get turned over. Yeah. Especially in that manner.
Yeah. And I think that's what, as I said, I think that's what, I just don't think he's just such an old school manager that he just has no interest in that whatsoever. To him, it's just a game of footy that you have to play in front of people. I mean, that's just a done thing. He probably wouldn't have anyone in a stadium knowing him if he got an opportunity. He'd probably just have it.
But he still does the behind closed doors ones alongside that, doesn't he? He probably appreciates there's something to the value of it, makes it a little bit more similar to the match day experience, even if there is only 10,000 people in attendance. I think he probably appreciates that as well. But you're right, he's old school. He doesn't believe in a lot of these more modern techniques, like Liverpool fans who hold positions of political power in London, advocating for games to be played in America. He's just not with any of that. And
we'll talk more about that when we do M-Tag.
Yeah,
we'll talk more about that when we do M-Tag. But no, it is what it is. It is what it is, and we've got another one tomorrow, which. Coventry playing blue, don't they? That might mean that we might have to play in a different colour.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
We're going to have to wear last season's away kit, aren't we? We're going to have to
that's another thing.
Note and write Castor and put it over Hummel.
Yeah. Bournemouth wore, don't know if you've seen this, Bournemouth wore a kit that was designed by Michael B. Jordan.
Did they, yeah?
To a home and away because their kits weren't ready yet. So they wore, like a red one and a black one with like this badge that he designed as well, because he's a shareholder, isn't he?
I'll have to look at that.
For the 2 games that they wore that kit. And Villa, because their kit wasn't ready, they wore a white one. This was before they went to the States. They wore a white one, which apparently was given to charity or something, but which we did one year actually. Everton played, said this before, Everton played an MLS All-Stars, so it was a big game. So 2009 it was, and we'd just gone to the Coq Sportif and we had our home kit out, obviously the blue with the V-neck, but we didn't have our away kit, so we wore a training kit for a game against the MLS All-Stars. So
on, probably like one of the most watched Everton games around that period.
In America, yeah.
Because you're getting this whole new audience.
Yeah.
And
we wore a training kit.
We wore a training kit.
We didn't, now you would have, your away kit out just for that moment, which is just so full Everton. So, right, let's have a look at your comments. Me and Jack are on our own today. There's no Ned, there's no John, there's no Baz. So as I'm talking, I'm desperately searching for news for M-Tag, and I'm trying to do the thumbnail. So if I give you a question now, Jack, feel free to just say what you want and ramble on. Glenn Watson says, the Jack of Diamonds only question: which of these would you buy off Facebook Marketplace? You had the choice: a used mattress, a used underwear, used bicycle helmet, a new laptop. I get the final one.
And what's the laptop in reference to?
I think it's in reference maybe to Ned. Sell it.
Of course. So I'd say that's not a serious suggestion, is it? So it's used mattress, used undies, or used bike helmet. To be honest, right?
You were a student.
Yeah, I'd go with the mattress, honestly. I think once you put your sheets over it and that, it doesn't really matter what's been on it because, I'm not using used bed sheets, am I? That'd be weird. Yeah. But, the bike helmet, it's going to be all sweaty and horrible. It's going to smell how bike helmets smell. And used undies, I don't even need to explain why that's just morally and criminally wrong.
Criminally wrong?
I think I mean, no, I'd take that back because I understand maybe, people who don't have that much money might just need to, buy stuff off websites that might be secondhand and that. So I get that. But me personally, if, in a position to avoid it, if I've got money for a mattress, even a used one, I've got money to go to Next and spend a £5 on a free pack of undies. But yeah, I think mattress is like the least unhygienic option. And yeah, now I think of it, you're right, as a student I did have a second-hand mattress because in my student house there was a mattress in place and obviously I used it. I just put bed sheet on it.
Just the latest on O'Brien. Sky are reporting that he is having his medical and the fee is 17 million.
So I've seen 22 mentioned as well, but
well, that's probably the add-ons, isn't it?
Yeah, I think maybe as well because Palace are owed a percentage of it, and maybe if there is a difference, maybe that's part we're paying a couple of million to cover what they owe Palace. But if it's 17 before add-ons, and those add-ons are things like European football and stuff that we probably won't pay anytime soon.
Winning the league.
Yeah. See, Barcelona's offer for Olmo. And it was like 10 million up front, 10 million every year for 4 years, and then another 10 million if they win the league twice in the next 4 seasons. So if they win like 2 of the next 4 league titles.
It's all right, isn't it? For them, anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you win it...
They turned it down.
Yeah. Well, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, if you win the leagues, then it's all good news, isn't it? It's all good news.
Yeah, it's all good for Barcelona. For Leipzig, I don't think they were too convinced.
Is he in the last year of his contract?
I'm not sure. I think his release clause might have just expired, but I don't think anyone was going to pay that fee anyway. Yeah. But he might be. I'm not sure.
Cello says bring back the black kit. Let's just have a look. Richard passes, time to bin off the Gnonto deal now, wasted so much time chasing. And then he says derogatory words that I'm not allowed to say. EV says, Evan Viking says, done some looking into O'Brien and apparently he's quite rapid when he gets going. He's a centre back. They don't get going. Just
you don't want to get in my way when I get going.
Slow down, just slow on the turn, which is probably more important for the centre back. And for the first few steps, apparently he needs to work on his defensive position and needs to get better at being more dominant in his defensive duels. But something to work with. Just hope we get a good winger in soon as well.
Yeah, that's all teachable though, isn't it? Your positional sense as well. It's he's got physical gifts that you can't teach, like his size, and if you're saying he has got a bit of pace behind him, it's useful. But he can learn the rest of it, and if he isn't an immediate replacement for one of our 2 centre-halves, which it looks like, he isn't, easier to work alongside them. He's got time to learn away from pressure and only come in when we need him or want him to play.
Absolutely. Buck says on Saturday was a good exercise barring the result and the youngsters in the second half. I personally like the way Dixon slotted in. What have you thought of Dixon, of what you've seen of? Have you seen much of him?
Didn't see much, but I've seen a decent turn of pace. Obviously not ready for first team football at this point, but I think anyone who around our team who has a little bit of pace is a potential option to be used, not to be as a serious option you can depend on week in, week out, but yeah, maybe one week he does fit into the bench and, we're in a game where you go, you know what, we need a little bit more on the break, bring this lad on, especially if we are struggling in the market to get the profile of winger that we want.
Yeah. No, absolutely. He does look rapid, I'll give him that, so we'll have to wait and see what they do with him. I hope his path isn't stopped.
the old train with the first team dilemma, where
I just hope
you're with the team but you don't play.
Yeah, he does look rapid, and I think if that's the case, then obviously the manager isn't someone who plays or doesn't really want attacking fullbacks, as we've seen. So maybe that's an issue for him. But I really like the look of him. I really like the look of him, and hopefully, he doesn't get. I'd rather he stayed at Everton. Everton got an opportunity, but ultimately,
You've got to remember as well, we have, obviously no disrespect to anyone, but we've not been producing brilliant youth prospects from the academy left, right and centre for a while. We've had a couple come through, Dobbin got a decent form, he scored a
people
goal,
say that, but one thing I would say is that young players have been paying the bills for a while. Anthony Gordon, Sims.
Well, in terms of the money we make
Tom
for
Cannon.
them, yeah, but we've not had ones coming into the first team and we see the benefit on the pitch, is what I mean. The only ones really is Gordon, we got a few decent months out of, and, Davis for a period as well, but the rest of them have shown potential, but it's not worked for them at Everton, probably because or partly because the lack of a pathway for them to really get into the team. The likes of Sims, the likes of Cannon, who shown they have ability, but they're not the finished product and therefore can't get in the team, but they're left in limbo for too long and don't get the development. So it has been a while since we've had a youth prospect come into the team that, we can comfortably back and go, yep, he's good enough despite his age, despite his experience. And the last one was Gordon, and obviously there's a sour taste in the mouth there. So for a lot of people, that doesn't really count. But obviously Dixon, we don't know yet because we've not seen that much of him. But hopefully we see he's already got something that we lack. So that's a good starting point, isn't it?
Yeah, the pace. I mean, everyone who watched him knows that he's got so much pace there. That he stands out from everybody else. He really does. He stands out. So,
especially when we've just sold Godfrey, who probably was amongst our quicker players as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And was cover for those fullback spots.
Let's have a look before we go. Rich says, anyone else see any positives from Saturday? For me, only Chimiti. He said he also went online to order training gear and all the men's short sleeve tops sold out. Well, it's the summer. Short sleeve tops will sell out.
You could buy a long sleeve one and cut the arms off.
No, that sounds ridiculous. Andy Campbell says, good afternoon, lads. Yesterday I found out I'm going to have a son, baby number 2. Now that's a good signing. Up the Toffees. Congratulations, yeah. Andy. Congratulations indeed. Another Evertonian into the world. Good news. Harry Marsh is solid from Salzburg to Villarreal for €8.5 million. And it is an interesting comparison to O'Brien. Do you know anything about Solid from?
I know absolutely nothing about Solid first time.
I thought you were our Salzburg correspondent, or our Red Bull. Oh, you used to be our Red Bull correspondent. You know, our Lucasade correspondent.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know about Lucasade Salzburg, I can tell you a few of their players. But why haven't Lucasade bought a football club?
Because they probably don't have they don't have Red Bull money. That's why.
But they should get Red Bull money and they should buy Everton.
What would you be against? What if they wanted to change our name to Lucasade Everton?
No, I wouldn't like that. But we could have the Lucasade Arena. Although that does very much sound like a League 2 stadium on a 1-year sponsorship.
Sounds
deal.
like an athletics.
Yeah,
stadium.
That's what I mean. It's a little ground and it's got a little running track around it, but not even like a full size one. Just one for high school athletics, and it's got little stands around it. The Lucasade Arena. Although I do really like Leeds kit with the Red Bull sponsorship. I think it looks really nice. Have you seen it?
I'm not of course I've seen it. The home of I like the away. I like the yellow kit for them this season is tremendous. No, fair play to them.
Yeah, fair play to them. Give us Gnonto.
Yeah, you've got your kit.
Yeah.
You've got your sponsor.
Stop being greedy.
Yeah.
You've got that Red Bull money coming in now. You can accept a lower fee for Gnonto.
I think so. Let's have some more comments while I desperately try and sort them tag out. I'll refresh it. Doopy-doo, doopy-doo. Let's have a look. Paul, there is like literally no further news on ACAP's stuff in court. I wouldn't expect anything from that to happen anytime soon. So yeah. Jonathan Rickett says, good to see us moving away from Gnonto. Let's go and get Asprilla and also Richarlison. Add Rodriguez and O'Brien and to the squad, and that's a great window. He says,
Get the band back together.
No, he means the other Rodriguez, not James. He means
Ricardo.
He means Ricardo.
Yeah, Ricky. No, Richarlison's an interesting one, isn't it? Because to be honest, although, there's been no rumours of us signing him, he's a name that always comes up when fans talk about buying players. But from what I've seen like more and more people saying, yeah, you know what, just leave the memories alone. We don't need them back.
No, but what I was going to say there is of course, people will say that, but do you think actually buying him or bringing him in would be a legitimately good deal?
It obviously depends on the money. I think Levy's not soft, is he? I think they wouldn't take that much of a loss on him selling him back to us, especially because they know, if we were to try and bid for him, if we did want him, I'm sure we'd try hard to get him, and we'd probably be willing to pay a little bit more than maybe what his market value might be at the moment if we had that sort of money. So I don't think we would get reasonable terms for Richarlison, but say for argument's sake that we did, I do think he'd fit in this team to a degree, and he was always a grafter, Richarlison. People forget that about him because he would flop about a bit, and he had a personality, but he would work very hard, Richarlison. I don't think you can play him as a winger in this team.
No, I think he'd have to be number 9.
If you do, you need an out-and-out winger on the other side. A Dwight McNeil type who'll hug the line and just whip crosses in, because otherwise you're getting absolutely no width in your team, with Richarlison coming inside and your full-back's not pushing up. I think if we hadn't signed Ndai, he'd be good in that role behind the striker. Because, obviously it's an adaptation on it because he is more of a forwards than an attacking midfielder, but as a hard worker, someone who did really well in those central positions for us. Obviously we've got Ndai now, so I don't think we necessarily need to recruit a player for that position, but I don't know, for me, and this probably is a bit silly, but Richarlison for me is one of those players that it wouldn't even matter if it made sense. If he was available for a good fee that worked for you, he's one you'd have to bring in. Just for, and I know that's not how you run a football club, and it's a type of thing that, you end up criticising the club for if he doesn't do particularly well, because he doesn't really have a position in this team, but I just really like Richarlison.
Do you know what? Just I think Richarlison is the kind, if Richarlison didn't play for Everton and hadn't played for Everton, and was available, I think he would be the type of player that, we'd probably think he was crap. We'd probably go, no, he's rubbish him. What's he ever done? But I do think that I do think if he is available, they say never go back, but I actually do think he's very much the kind of player that would be good for us.
You'd need to change the system at this point, I think, if he was to come in now, because you've got Ndai. So I don't think you can play behind the striker necessarily, unless you don't play Ndai, you drop him to the bench, but we've just spent a lot of money on him and we want to see him start. I think if he was going to play as a winger in this team, then you need a proper overlapping fullback who can whip crosses in to cover that width for you. If not, I'd play him as the striker maybe, but he's not really the focal point you're looking for. Yeah, he's good in the air, but he's not a back to goal, control it with your chest and hold it up type of player, is he? So I think you would need to change the system if you brought him in at this point.
Yeah, I think he could play up front though. I think he could play in the number 9, and with
we just wouldn't be able to go long as often now, I don't think of it. He is good in the air, but he's not a number 9 striker, back to goal sort of good in the air.
Yeah, no,
he's good attacking balls in the box.
No, I get that. I just think his work rate, is exceptional, and I think it's something Sean Dyche would certainly be looking at. So, yeah. I mean, no one really knows what's going to happen with him as of yet, so we'll have to wait and see. Right, just finishing off. I'm just trying to get this link sorted for you, but if I can't, then you know where to find us in a few minutes. Maybe towards JL23 says maybe towards the end of the window, Spurs will be more likely to let us take Richie on loan.
Yeah, if they haven't got a sale, but just depends on what our loans are like by that point as well, isn't it? Because it's only 2 Premier League loans allowed. Is it, or is it just 2 domestic loans?
No, it's 2 domestic.
We've already got Harrison through the door, and look, I personally don't want him, but I know a lot of fans have been talking about Calvin Phillips, and that'd probably be a loan transfer, and that'd take us to 2 domestic loans, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Right, I can't get the thing sorted for more than a game. I'm trying.
Everything's breaking.
I know.
Today, isn't it?
We came in and after things in the studio were broke, even though we left them exactly as they were on over the weekend.
It's almost like someone sabotaged us.
It's almost like Ned, before going to see the Libertines in Brighton, thought, do you know what? I'll break something so that the lads come in and I become more powerful.
Yeah, I mean, he's running a protection racket on us, isn't he? He's, there's some bad men out there breaking computer screens, putting weird green filters that you don't know how to get rid of over your live streams. But, if you slide me a little bit of kickback every month, I'll make sure those bad men stay away from your computers. That's what he's done. That's straight out of the craze.
That's what it feels like. I did set up a live stream for more than a game. I don't even know where it's gone. It's just completely disappeared.
It's in the void now.
It's just in the void. So I apologise. I can't bullshit for any longer. So right, do us a favour. Head over to More Than a Game in about 5 minutes. The magic thing's not there because I don't know why. It's just, nothing seems to be working today, and I've got nobody else to sort it because Jack's just useless.
Yeah,
he's just absolutely useless. He hasn't even seen The Matrix.
No,
he's just alerted me to the fact that he's not even seen The Matrix. What am I supposed to do with that? I don't know.
Just fix the MTAG stream.
Yeah, that's it. Neo could fix it. He'd absolutely be able to fix it, but you don't even know who Neo is. So
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
that is.
Yeah.
Right. See.
Right. See you over in MTAG in about 10 minutes. See you later.